We should be live. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance.
Tonight will be just a little bit different. We actually have two meetings in one. So we're going to have to start with the 2023 budget hearing. The meeting is called to order at 7:06 p.m. by Mrs. Adams. I'll let it be shown that all members are present, including Dr. Hatton and Mr. Freed. The proposed budgets in each of the tax levy funds, summaries of the capital projects plan, and the bus replacement plan have been duly posted on North Harrison Community Schools website. A notice of a public hearing has been electronically submitted through Gateway. We now go to the discussion, and Mr. Freed will handle that.
Thank you, Madam President. Try to get my stuff over here. Stand. Okay. I told some of the kids when they got on the bus this afternoon that we'll try to get them home by the football game, and that starts at 8:20. I originally had a 113 slide presentation, but I haven't heard that. So stay with us, kids. Okay, so this is our budget hearing for 2023, and what I'm going to try to do tonight is take a very, very complex issue, situation, budget, and try to narrow that down to make it something that we can all understand. So in Indiana accounting, you basically have three primary funds. This changed back in 2017, 2019. There are now just three funds that we use when we develop the budget. You have the education fund, your operations fund, and your debt service. Okay? So before you can build a budget, you really have to understand what these funds are. Your education fund, this is entirely state supported. Okay? So it's the terminology that's used is money follows the student. Every dollar that we get at North Harrison Community Schools in our education fund is from the state of Indiana. All right? Now, there are several factors on this. It is pretty much entirely based on your student enrollment. We call this ADM, Average Daily Membership. Okay? So the state has two student count days. Actually, the first one is next Friday in September. There's a count day where you have to verify and certify how many students are in your school corporation. And then there's also a second count day that's in the spring, and this is in February. So twice a year, the state looks at your ADM, and that is simply how many physical bodies you have in your building, okay? The state will then each year determine the formula that decides how much money you you are going to get per student. And this fluctuates, this changes year to year, okay? So, for example, in 2021, we had 2,100 students. This is kindergarten through seniors in our school district. The state, when they came up with their formula, they decided that we get $6,407 per student for a total of $13,532,921. And that's called your basic tuition support grant. So this is what the state gives, and they do this with every corporation in the year. They look at your ADM, they look at the formula that they develop. Some things can change the formula. It can be based on poverty levels, special needs students, honors diploma graduates. There's different things that kind of go into the formula itself, but this is what we received last year in 21, okay? What do we spend this money on? Basically, the easy way to remember the education fund is people. People, people, people. To be able to support our students. Teachers, secretary, nurses, assistants, administrators. All of their salaries, all of their benefits. Sometimes we forget about those numbers. You may hire a teacher, a first-year teacher, and they may be paid $42,000, but when you factor in their benefit package, that may be an additional $25,000 to $30,000. So instead of a $42,000 person with their benefits, it may go upwards of $60,000 to $70,000. Because all the benefits are included. All instructional supplies. This also comes out of the education fund. So basically, education fund, state determines it, and we spend that on people. Money changes based on your increases or decreases in student enrollment. So like for example, last year, typically what corporations will do is your number will be higher in September. So your count, I think actually our count was like 21, 18, or 19 in September. And then when they they start paying you based on that. And then when they take that count again in February, if it's lower or higher, then they will start giving you less money or more money based on if your enrollment changed for the better or for the worse. Typically, we have ran around 2,100 students. I actually have our enrollment history listed. Now, I remember when I was a middle school principal, my first year, 10 years ago, I had 565 kids in the middle school. So as you can see, going back to 2017, we had almost 100 more kids then than what we do now. Last September, our count was 2125, and then in February count date was 2102. So it's going to change based on your enrollment. Why this is a big issue is I've got the little math figure there. If we decrease by 50 students based on the money that we received last year, then that's a loss of $320,000 in funding from the state. Okay, so as a superintendent, you always have to make preparations to change, to prepare for changes in the formula, to prepare for enrollment changes, because that is very hard to predict. And it's also to, try and determine what the state says they're going to give you from year to year. So those are factors in trying to decide and prepare for your education. The second fund is operations. Used to have more funds. 3 funds got merged into one. You got your capital projects, your bus replacement, and transportation. This all merged into one, and now we simply call it operations. Where education money came specifically from the state, the operations fund comes from property taxpayers. Okay? Also, miscellaneous revenue. They realize that they want to try to help out, I guess, if you will, and give school corporations a little bit more revenue in this fund. So your license excise tax, if somebody has a semi that lives in our district, and they get taxed on that commercial vehicle excise tax, that money comes to the district. Banks, financial institution tax. those are some examples of miscellaneous revenue. Okay, so the money that we bring into operations from property taxes, miscellaneous revenue. How do you spend this money? And again, you can't, you have to spend money. I can't pay, people out of different funds. Okay, everything is structured, so I can't pay for buildings out of education. I can't pay for teachers out of operations. These are the expenditures, some examples for operations. Basically, keeping the school corporation money. When people think of operations, a simple analogy is I say buildings and buses. So with education, you got people. With operations, you have buildings and buses. But look at all these items here. Bus contracts, utilities, painting, transportation costs and repair, any kind of equipment, building improvements, maintenance, security, HVAC, roofing, technology. And then you always prepare for emergencies. That is your operations fund, okay? In 2022, the approved budget for operations was $5,850,000, and the tax rate was 0.5198. So that is your operations fund. The last fund is debt service. This is simply debt that we owe. What do we owe money on? Again, the income is just exactly the same as operations. We get this money from taxpayers and those miscellaneous revenue items. What do we spend it on? Again, what we owe. Leases, loans, bonds, uncollected textbook revenue. In 2022, our debt service fund was $2,532,962, and the tax rate was 23 cents. What did we make payments on? The PE facility, $217,962.50. Morgan, you can see on down the lines. Those were payments that we made out of debt service, out of taxpayer money and miscellaneous revenue. So we paid $1.71 million in principal and $820,000 in interest out of debt service, plus money from reimbursements from textbooks and some bank fees. So our total 2022 debt service payment was $2,537,962.50. Debt service, debt that the corporation owes. Those are your three funds. This piece is very important. We receive money from the riverboats, okay? The riverboat gives you money in what they call an education fund and a debt reduction fund. So in education, I just went back a few years, starting in 2019, the county gave us about $620,000 in riverboat education funds. It dropped a little bit in 2020, but as you can see in 2021 and 2022, we had significant drops. 2022, we only received $253,681.31 in our riverboat education fund from the county. So that fund itself was cut almost $300,000 that we just did not get. And we pay for a lot of things. We rely on that money. So that $300,000 deficit definitely is going to be felt. That doesn't mean we're not going to continue with these programs and pay for these programs. It just means that instead of having that riverboat education fund money to help support us and these programs, we have to find a different way to pay for it. Technology, class supplies, summer school, band, choir, library books, security, our school resource officers, the outside classroom in North Harrison Elementary, teacher professional development. Those are big ticket items that we use that riverboat money for. And there is fear that this could go away the following year. There's always a fear that you have as a superintendent is what if that money entirely goes away? We certainly hope that that does not. But again, that's up to the county council to decide how that money is spent. So we are hoping that money continues, but prepared in case it does not. So that's the riverboat education. The riverboat debt reduction fund is simply, as it sounds, money that the county council gives to Harrison County School Corporations to help offset some of their debt. We just talked about debt payments that we made. The reason why this fund is important is everyone that lives in our district that pays taxes is positively impacted by this. It helps keep your tax rate low. So this number has stayed pretty constant. 2022, we had 835,000. We've been in the 800,000s for the last few years. But again, there is fear that this money will go away. If this money goes away, then there is no doubt that our taxes will go up. Okay? Because right now, again, we're getting a pretty significant chunk of change to help in that debt reduction, and you have to pay your debts. It's just like your home mortgage. You pay what you owe. So if we're going to continue to pay what we owe, we need that money. If not, taxes would be raised because of that money disappearing. Again, we certainly hope that doesn't go away, but you always have to act like it's going to be gone. All right, quick property tax math. A lot of people assume that I pay taxes and it only goes to the school district. Part of that is true, but there are other places your tax money goes. They call these taxing authorities. Your county, your library, your school district, that's us, townships, fire, police. These are all taxing authorities, okay? And your taxes are based on assessed value. So for example, last year, every parcel of land in our district, the assessed value was a little over $568 million, okay? And they call that AV, assessed value. Our tax rate for 2022, when you combine operations and debt services, was basically 75 cents, 0.7499. So for the district, you take every bit of assessed value times the tax rate. Assessed value taxes are paid per 100. So you get your 426 million, divide that by 100, and the total levy, which is taxes that you're going to collect from taxpayers, was 4,266,355, okay? Which was 151,000 below max levy. Max levy is the absolute top dollar you could have taxpayers pay. So the last couple of years we have been below max levy, all right? So that is quick property tax. All right. So now that we understand all those funds, everybody's kids, you still with me? All right, everybody's still awake, so we're not doing too bad. Thank you for that. 2023, our proposed budget in education is $16,025,940. Again, this is all state supported based on student enrollment. I could ask the state for $58 million. They're going to give me they're going to take their magic formula, times it by how many kids are in our schools, and that's the dollar amount I'm going to get. Okay? But you want to make sure that you advertise it high to make sure that you get every dollar from the state that they owe you so we can provide services for our kids. Operations. The 2023 proposed number is $6,045,225. Again, the operations fund, this is our property taxes and miscellaneous revenue. And then the debt service, what the corporation owes, paying on those buildings, $2,762,085. Again, just like operations, property taxes, miscellaneous revenue. There's a budget form called Form 3. There's about 50 different forms that you have to complete and send in to the DLGF. And on this form, it basically states out what we just talked about. Your education fund budget, there is no levy. Again, levy are taxes to be collected because remember the state pays for that. Your operations fund, there is a levy. I have the levy set at $5 million with a rate of 0.9615. And with debt service, there is also a levy and I have that set at 2.5 million, which brings us to 50 cents in that fund. For a total 2023 budget proposal of $24,833,250 and a tax levy of $7.5 million, which makes the overall tax rate of $1.46. Now that sounds astronomical, and it is, okay? Tax rate will not be $1.46. You advertise it high on purpose to make sure that we get the money that we're due. And these are some reasons why we advertise that high. I'll show you a different graph here in a minute. I promise I'm wrapping it up. Assessed value changes from year to year. If you look back 7 years ago, our assessed value for the district was about $468 million. So in the last 7 years, your homes obviously have increased in value. That can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. But last year it was a little over $568 million. That changes. You cannot predict that. You have to have sufficient appropriations. It does not matter how much money you have in your funds. You can have $10 million in your education fund, but you can only spend what you appropriate. Okay? You cannot spend any more than that. Previously, there has been state calculation errors, and money has not came. Another reason we advertise high is to protect and maintain cash balances, also to guarantee a levy to make sure we do collect taxes so we can pay our debt and operate our campuses. And this is the big one. Once you advertise it, you can only lower it once it's advertised. Okay, so if I advertise it at 16 million and realize, oh my gosh, I've made a huge mistake, I can't go anywhere else with it. All right? So you advertise high for those reasons. So as a tax rate comparison, this is my last slide. Going back in 2018, these were the advertised tax rates. And as you can see, they're all about $1.50. In the far right-hand column was the actual tax rate. So what's going to happen is I send this proposed budget, they look it over, and they say, this is what your tax rate is going to be based on the information that you provided. So 2018, the advertised budget was $1.51. Usually you get this information back in December, and the actual tax rate decided was 72 cents. Okay, on down the list. And you can see historically, and even if I went back farther, about 10 years farther down the road, there were a few 80s, there were a few 60s, but here recently we have hovered around the mid to high 70s for our actual tax rate. Now, our tax rate compared to other corporations, last year in 2022, the state average tax rate was $1.10, the actual tax rate. So when you compare us to the rest of the state, we are very comfortable and far below what that average tax rate is, at least for 2022. Typically, it stays around that dollar and something range. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly that your debt is $1,700,000 change, and you're paying interest of $820,000?
That number sounds correct. Let me back up.
And you get variable debt reduction of $800,000 debt per year?
It has been, yes.
Okay, my question is, why do you take so much interest when $800,000 can map that out in like 2 years with conversation? I mean, I don't know.
And to be honest, the way things were structured, there were some GO bonds, general obligation bonds used for different facilities. The way loans were structured is for buildings to come off as another building goes on. Like right now, the middle school individual payment is extremely low because we're waiting for Morgan to come off. And when that debt comes off, and this was done previous to me, so I'm just going from that, then the middle school payment basically takes the place of it.
Okay, when you say bonds, okay,
That's basically when you're looking to borrow money, but you don't have the money up front, you sell bonds.
okay, now, I'm asking that structure, who's selling bonds, who's buying bonds?
Typically, you have a committee. I know when the middle school, and Steve, you can help me out if I'm wrong here, when the middle school was constructed, there was a committee, a bond holding company. You have to have a holding company, and then you typically will go through an agency to sell bonds. Typically schools are, a lot of people look at schools as no risk. So they're in,
I understand the rules of bonds. I mean, is it investors like?
Yes.
Investors?
Absolutely.
So when you say interest, you're actually saying, okay, so the taxpayers can say, okay, well, we're investing in bonds. So your interest is actually going back to the taxpayers. But my question, again, and I understand, and I do appreciate your philosophy.
sure.
Because I've studied this, I have an accounting background. And so, yeah.
I may ask you for some help.
Yeah, that was like in the nineties.
That's okay.
That was a long time. So I kind of understand that.
Sure.
But what I'm having a part of
I'm with you, hard time understanding.
understanding, is, what, is there no way you can restructure it and pay that much interest?
Yes.
And why the taxpayers are getting, I mean, still, I'm figuring that out in my head.
Right.
And I'm like,
And some of that has been restructured, for sure. And to be honest, just off the top of my head, I'm not sure the date or time or how that worked, but I would be more than happy to talk with you about that.
oh, afterwards.
Sure.
And my thing is, my boss, and I don't
I
like
am
it.
too.
I don't want to do that.
Sure,
And
sure.
the thing is, when I see that 1,000,007, and you're paying that kind of interest, I'm like, and when you get $800,000 a year from Riverboat,
Right.
like,
The interest, my understanding of that, the way that was originally set up, was to pay that high interest on middle school, do an interest-only type payment. So the debt reduction fund would stay low for taxpayers, and then when that money came off, Morgan is, 2025 is when Morgan is completely paid off. Then the middle school payment would then bump way up, and the principal payment to take up from where Morgan
okay,
was.
so what you're planning to do is, you're planning on this on debt reduction, where you're gonna pay the high interest rate first.
Correct.
And then go down.
Right, yes, right now, the 2.5 million that you see there that is basically our debt for like forever. Not forever, but a long time down the road, 10 to 12, 15 years. Right now, that debt reduction, or that debt service fund is set at about 2.5 billion, the way everything is structured with all the buildings. Does that make a little more sense? Hmm?
No, because I'm looking at this and I'm like,
Sure, it's very complex, as you
yeah,
said.
no,
And those are great questions.
no, I understand it.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
No,
And I may take you up on that,
No,
actually.
but, no, actually, I think they're all.
Sure. That's being a good citizen. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's great. You're welcome. Anything else? Yes, ma'am? I think every year it's a fear, and just, actually, I think just with that trend of how it's just dropped and dropped and dropped. Dr. Hatton went there this summer, and then I went on August 27th. And we both talked to them and talked to the council and expressed the great programs and the money and what it's used for, and asked for continued support of that. And, I think when I got done, there was somebody else that got up and asked for more money, and then when he got done, there was somebody else that got up and asked for more money, so it's one of those things. But yes, we definitely made our intentions clear that we need that money within the state schools. Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Unfortunately, I can't vote here. The other person voted because
Okay.
I'm like, I know their budget. I'm
Sure.
like there or way more than everybody else.
Right, right.
I'm not happy about that.
I understand, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't have to work that. Yeah, I know all these people.
There you go. You're amongst friends.
No, yeah, but I can't, I don't live here, I can't vote here. But, oh, by the way, I love your team. Okay, I absolutely love your team.
Thank you.
I'm fine now.
You're good. Any other questions? All right, guys, I appreciate you paying attention, and it is very complex. Hopefully I was able to simplify a little bit of that for you, and that wraps up my presentation.
Okay. Okay, the first meeting now, it is recommended that this meeting be adjourned at 7:36 PM. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Engel. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now for the regular board meeting. This meeting is called to order at 7:37 PM. My board president, Mrs. Marla Adams. All members are present. Mrs. Gunter, Mr. Stroud, Mr. Hanger, Mr. Engel, Mr. Freed, and Dr. Hatton. The adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda for the September 8th, 2022 regular meeting be approved as presented with additions, corrections, or deletions as recommended by the board. Are there any late items?
Yes, Madam President, we do have late items. Regina Clooney has listed all these for us, so if you picked up an packet when you came in, and all the board members should have the late items listed under 9-8-14.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda with the late items added?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mrs. Gunter. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Stroud. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. It is recommended that the minutes from the August 11th, 2022 meeting be approved as presented. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Hanger. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Engel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Business office recommendations, approval of claims.
It is recommended that claim numbers 828 through 952 be approved as presented. May I have a motion to approve the claims?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Stroud. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. All those in favor, please, are there any comments or questions here?
I do have something. We always approve these or recommend approval of claim numbers. Can we explain to the public what these claim numbers are? And for the students too, so they understand what they are.
Sure. Basically, these are services in simple terms that we pay for. So if we have someone that does roofing for us, we are approving payment to pay them for their services.
This is what the claim looks like, so this box over here, she puts on the order, so if there is a question, we can pull it out, we can go and look at it.
got some too. I left mine in the office.
Thank you for that explanation.
Good question here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Approval of payrolls. It is recommended that regular payrolls for September 16th, 2022, September 30th, 2022, and October 14th, 2022 be approved for payment.
May I have a motion to accept approval of payrolls?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Engel. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hanger. Any questions or comments here? And I think this one's pretty self-explanatory, but all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Bank reconciliation, it is recommended that the bank reconciliation from August 31st, 2022 be approved as presented.
May I have a motion to accept this recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mrs. Gunter. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hanger. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Presentations, we do not have any tonight. We do anticipate having a presentation from Morgan Elementary School next month.
Now, participation in school board meeting, public comments on agenda items only. If you have anything to say, please step to the podium. You have 3 minutes to state your comment.
When you talk from here, is that okay?
I can hear you.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, okay, I just.
Oh, what's your name, please?
My name is Liz Beaver.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, I just have a question. Okay. Could I guess that? I have a federal question real quick. Is that okay?
Well, they have to be related to the agenda. But if you have hypothetical questions, I'll be glad to talk with you at some point in time, either after the meeting tonight or sometime tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready for personnel, resignations, retirements, appointments. Caitlin Burson, girls varsity tennis coach, effective September 8, 2022. Marla Seabrams, corporation bus driver for Crosser Route, effective September 8, 2022. Caitlin Burson, senior class sponsor and yearbook sponsor, effective August 1st, 2022. Ted Goldman, volunteer 5th grade girls basketball assistant for the 22-23 season. Tony Ratliff, volunteer boys middle school tennis assistant for the 22-23 season. Rhonda Rowe, high school drama sponsor for the 2022-23 school year.
May I have a motion to accept these appointments?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Stroud. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Engel. Any comments or questions here? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we're going to skip to late items. Lisa Rathgeber, appointment, North Harrison Elementary instructional assistant for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. Amanda Evans, appointment, color guard assistant for the 2022-23 season. Yahir Velasco, appointment, marching tech for the 2022-23 season. Julie Wade, appointment, middle school science Olympiad sponsor, effective September 8, 2022. Kelly Book and Daniel Andry, high school science Olympiad and STEM Club co-sponsors, effective September 8, 2022.
May I have a motion to accept these late items?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Engel. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. Any comments or questions on these? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Board member communication.
Mr. Engel, do you want to go first?
No, please.
All right, thank you all for coming. I have 2 pages of things. First of all, with the dress code, let me start by saying that I did inquire, and under no circumstances were the staff instructed to use the Pledge of Allegiance to dress code students. Apparently, maybe there was some miscommunication. But per Indiana state law, schools do have to say the pledge, and students are offered the choice of participating. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Next, I want to thank all of the students, parents, and staff that attended the meeting about dress code to express their concerns and frustrations. There was also some positive suggestions for change. I have a file full of information for us to start to go through. I did present it to the board at the executive session. The board has decided this time to consider changes to the policy, but until that time, we will continue to use the current policy. If anybody did not know, the iRead and iLearn results came out last month for our school system. Unfortunately, they have not returned to pre-COVID levels, but we are working very hard and diligent at that. Hopefully we'll have some more information. Indiana is going to be offering a tutoring grant that parents can utilize to assist their students. So hopefully we'll have more information in the next month or so. We can pass that along through Harmony. I want to give kudos to the band on a very successful car show. I believe they had 121 registered cars, and they have their first competition Saturday in Evansville. I'm going to wish them good luck. Fall sporting events have started, so if you haven't done so already, please come out and support our student athletes. They're working very hard. And also, if you haven't noticed, we have an increased social media presence. So I want to give a shout out to Chad Clooney, Amy Hill, and Beth Person on doing an amazing job. It's not only are there posts about upcoming events and athletics, but they are posting posts about classroom activities, it's very heartwarming to see these kids with their activities. So thank you all again for coming.
Thank you, Chris. I just got a couple things. Playground equipment. I know it sounds like a broken record, and I appreciate all the work that you guys have put in, Mr. Richler as well. We're on hold again for it, so I know that it's coming. I know we got to be patient. You got all them little fellows over there with nothing to do, so I know Ken's taking care of them, him and his staff. Also, there's some other stuff going on that we're waiting on parts, things like that to fix things. These two gentlemen right here have done a great job of keeping the folks who are waiting for those parts and pieces coming in, keeping them in the loop. I really appreciate that. I'm sure they do too. Other than that, I don't have much else to say. Chrissy pretty much covered all the good stuff, like she always does. Appreciate it, Chrissy. Thank you very much. Mr. Hanger.
Once again, I too would like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Keep us in mind during the next few months. We hope that this COVID thing will continue to work itself out, and we hope that people are getting their jobs and even down to the elementary level. I feel good about us being able to come into school for the first time in a couple of years and not have to worry a whole lot, but it's still in the back of my mind that, I think we are very well prepared in case there is a glitch in this COVID situation across our school system. But hopefully things will go well, and looking forward to another good school year. And I feel like this is a good time for us at North Harrison. I hope you feel the same way about our football program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mr. Hanger, Dr. Hatton, Mr. Bree. Got goosebumps when we were going through the presentation.
I tried to feel
I mean, this is better than American Idol. Thank you, sir.
You did a great job.
All kidding aside.
Everybody was on the edge of their seats. I know.
out sick last school board meeting with COVID. I'm better now as I'm talking. That she does that, I make fun of her, but I'm terribly grateful. I do have something that was given to me by Mr. Freed that came from Mr. Clooney regarding our North Harrison FFA. And I'm going to read this word for word. Congratulations to the North Harrison FFA Livestock Skillathon CDE Judging Team number 1 for placing 6th, and team number 2 for placing 8th in the area contest. Now, this happened on August 30th. And Cameron Christie placing 8th individual in the contest. This was their first year competing in this contest, and very proud of them. Also, congrats to the NHFFA team of Lily Shireman, Emily Harrison, Maddie Kentner, Lane Case, and Hunter Ely for placing 3rd in the Dairy Foods contest on the 30th as well, out of the 10 area senior teams. Individually, Lily placed 4th and Emily placed 6th. So I'm very proud. Thank you, Mr. Freed, for letting me do this and stealing some of Chris's thunder.
That was my goal.
Thank you all very much for everyone who came out tonight. Ms. Reed, always thank you, pleasure. And that's all I have.
And then I'm last, and then there's nothing left to say, except that was a fly on your shirt. But I do appreciate everyone being here. It's nice to see some different faces too, and students that are here. And thank you, Chrissy, because I really appreciate you doing all that. And I'm going to turn this over to the superintendent for his comments.
I'll go ahead. Just a couple things. Again, I thought Nathan did a fine job. I
Yes.
enjoyed, now I've heard that presentation like 5 times, but he perfected it tonight. Tonight was his best ever. I just want to let you know. And he had some questions, so that was good. I didn't ask him any questions. Maybe I should have. Just an update on our, well, first let me, a positive announcement. We had applied and we were awarded a secure school safety grant. Now, the reason that this is to celebrate is because in the past, there had been plenty of money for all the schools across the state. This year it was pretty competitive, so not all schools who applied were able to receive. Basically, it's a $50,000 grant that we will use to help pay our SROs. We have to match that $50,000, but every little bit helps. So it's $50,000, based on what we received that. So we were very, very excited about that. Also, I know we had mentioned in prior meetings about adding an additional SRO. We've been approved for that. What we're waiting for is the training through the county. They're in the process of hiring some officers. They also are struggling to find people to put out on the road. Okay, so currently we have 2, but we have a 3rd coming. We're waiting on that training. But again, we're very confident that that's going to happen. We've been told that it's going to happen. Additionally, we talked about some security updates. Currently, we are in the process of finalizing our bids. It is going to be extremely costly, but we think it's a worthwhile cost considering the state of things and protection of our students and staff. So since it is going to be costly, we're getting like 4 different bids from different organizations that are coming in and walking the grounds. So we want to do a very, very efficient job. We talk about taxpayer money. We want to make sure that we use a lot of common sense and do what's best to use our money most efficiently. So we're really excited about that. And that's really all I have to say. Appreciate everyone coming out this evening.
You guys have heard me talk way too long tonight already. But again, just to echo everybody, thank you for coming. It is great to see new faces. As you can tell, there's a lot of great things going on in the district. I tell people all the time that we have great kids, great staff, great parents. If you can get out to a band show or the FFA or any of the sports or clubs or extracurriculars, those kids they are so thankful to see you there. And it doesn't matter if it's a sport, a club, whatever the case may be, just to show your involvement and support those kids. And I want to echo the Facebook has been really positive. We just wanted to give, because obviously the community's not in the classrooms every day, and we want to give a glimpse of all the great things that are going on in our schools on a daily basis. And so that has been fantastic, nothing but positive feedback there. And again, I just want to thank everyone for coming. The days are starting to get a little shorter, so fall is in the air, getting here. So we're moving along and tackling everything day by day. And again, thank you for your attendance.
Okay, it is recommended that the meeting be adjourned at 7:55 PM. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mrs. Gunter. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Stroud. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.
Everyone have a great night.